Thailand ranked as one of the safest places to travel in the world. The easing of restrictions has made tourists happy and driving in Thailand. That's all coming up on today's Good Morning Thailand. Could you please take a moment to click the like and subscribe button? It helps us way more than you know. Hello and welcome to Good Morning Thailand, brought to you by Coffee Culture and Deva Beach Resort. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our special guest today. As usual, it's the lovely Natty Warisa.
Hello everyone.
And of course, joining us from Phuket once again is Tim Newton.
Hi everybody, thank you very much for having me in your living room or wherever you're watching us today.
I see, and we have some...
Oh, I've got a great big thing over my face.
Yes, you do. Joining us all the way from Google Chat is a special message from Adobe. I would like to confirm that we are not sponsored by Adobe. However, if Adobe's watching, we would definitely not mind. Ladies and gentlemen, two things happening today. Firstly, it's a public holiday in Thailand. It's Labor Day, as well as we would like to wish the people all around the world a happy Eid, because I believe Ramadan has come to an end yesterday?
It's coming to an end today.
Today, by the evening of today.
By the evening, yes.
So I believe Eid is declared depending on the full moon. Therefore, it'll probably be tomorrow for most countries.
I see.
Depending on the world. So congratulations to everyone coming to the end of Ramadan. Tim's got a monitor lizard story.
Oh yeah,
Nice
I was
segue.
actually out for a walk. I'm not sure how you link those two. Out for a walk this morning around the lake, which I usually do when I'm in Phuket. And just out of nowhere was this huge monitor lizard. When I say huge, it was about 2 meters from top to toe, and it just ran out in front of me sideways, and I think I probably jumped faster than the monitor lizard did, and I proceeded with trepidation, let's say. And there was another little monitor lizard, which might have been mama lizard or baby lizard. I didn't really stop them to ask, nor do they have any labelling to advise me. But the big monitor lizards, so I'm just going to keep an eye out on those. I hope they're not going to be a developing trend around the lake. I think they'd always run away from you. You could tell me about your monitor lizard stories or our commenters, but I figure they're always going to run away from me, but they've probably got pretty sharp teeth and could take a big bite out of you if they wanted to, yeah?
Well, I don't know. My motto has always been see monitor lizard, walk away from the monitor lizard. Natty?
Yeah,
Right.
mine is keep your turtles away from the monitor lizards. They like to eat them.
Yeah, they're scary looking creatures. I don't want to mess with them. I'm sure they're beautiful in their own way, but I don't mess with monitor lizards. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's now check out Thailand's top headlines with Natty.
Here are Thailand's top headlines for today. Thailand slid into 8th place in a survey of 1,500 Americans on the world's safest travel destinations, but it is still in the world's top 10. Canada snagged the winning spot during the survey in the first place, followed by Iceland, Sweden, Japan, Ireland, Switzerland, South Korea, Thailand, New Zealand, and Australia. Thai PM Prayut Chan-o-cha has welcomed the ranking, according to a deputy government spokesperson. The spokeswoman said the PM sees the ranking as helpful in the wake of the recent changes and easing entry restrictions with the revised Thailand Pass. This news comes as travelers are finally flocking back to parts of Southeast Asia. In Thailand, the number of foreign visitors rose 38% in March from February, of course from a low base. The director of Chiang Mai Airport said the airport is ready for an influx of international passengers now that the country's entry requirements are eased. The Phuket Airport director predicted that throughout May, an average of 27 flights per day are expected to arrive at Phuket, as confirmed by 21 airlines. The news comes as Thailand massively eased its entry requirements. No COVID-19 testing is required for vaccinated travelers, either before travel or on arrival. And unvaccinated travelers can either submit a negative PCR test result issued within 72 hours before traveling, or quarantine for 5 days in an alternative quarantine hotel. Phuket was the first to come up with a quarantine-free re-entry procedure for Thailand last year, the Sandbox, on July 1st. It eventually morphed into the much-debated Thailand Pass, which still exists today, but in a much diluted form. Getting rid of any pre-travel or on-arrival testing for fully vaccinated travelers is seen as a huge step towards fully reopening Thailand's battered tourist industry and its reputation as a haven for Southeast Asian tourism. Phuket officials have scrambled to find ways to revive its tourism economy. This year, they have organized 2 seafood festivals, an event with a hot air balloons at the Sarasin Bridge linking Phuket to the mainland, and these events were meant to generate income for the island's farmers and vendors. With the tourist influx expected from this month, we'll see what Phuket officials have in store next. A Phuket driver who was caught on film driving slowly and erratically braking, obstructing an ambulance that was taking a seriously injured woman to a hospital, has now presented himself to police. The driver presented himself at Phuket City Police Station during the weekend. He claims he didn't hear the ambulance because he is quote-unquote old and deaf. So far, police have only named the driver as Mr. Thamrong and have confirmed that he was driving a black BMW. Police have not confirmed Mr. Thamrong's age or why he didn't notice the ambulance lights flashing behind him with the siren blaring. The police chief confirmed, however, that Mr. Thamrong was fined 500 baht, the maximum fine for obstructing an emergency vehicle. The chief said that if a person dies because of an ambulance obstruction, the obstruction driver can be charged with manslaughter, negligence causing death, or intentionally causing the death of another person. He added that the charge would depend on the driver's behavior.
And welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Thailand with Natty, Tim and Jay. Tim joining us from Phuket. Our first topic, ladies and gentlemen, is regarding the positive feedback from the scrapping of the test and go. Now, sorry, we're having some technical difficulties. Tim, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear.
But you are on speaker. Why are you on speaker for me? I can't hear you in my... Let me try this. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm definitely here.
Sometimes technology doesn't listen to you. Hello?
Okay, check 1 2.
Check 1 2 is not working. All right, we're gonna have to fix this. Hold on. Chai, could you try to fix this while I go on to our first topic? Now, Nettie, the first topic we're going to talk about is positive feedback from scrapping of test and go. Now, the foreign tourists who've arrived so far, they've complimented on basically how they're very happy that the easing of restrictions has taken place. Are you surprised?
I am not surprised, actually. They should be very happy that they don't have to stay in a quarantine hotel or they don't have to do the PCR tests before or on arrival. They can just kind of walk in, if they're double jabbed, that is. So that's good for them. This is good news.
Hello, and this is Jason.
Jason, in case you guys were wondering what he looked like.
Oh, I see. He's not on camera, unfortunately.
Oh, he's not?
No,
okay.
He's not. Now, they were taking messages from tourists, and they were saying that one tourist confirmed that it helped save a lot of money, which is, yes, because they don't have to do the PCR test, they don't have to stay in a hotel. And then we've also got another tourist saying that Thailand Pass got in, he was able to get the Thailand Pass in 3 days, as opposed to 3 weeks when he tried to get it last year.
Oh, nice.
So the time that it takes to get the Thailand Pass has always also significantly been reduced. Now, Kun Shayatham Promson, who's a permanent secretary of the Transport Ministry, he's come out and said that he expects the number of tourists will increase by 2024. Now, that's actually a very realistic target. What he means by increasing in the number of tourists is basically to get anywhere close to 2019 levels, or about 100,000 passengers arriving per day at Suvarnabhumi Airport, which would be a total of 36.5 million passengers a year. Tim, do you think by 2024 we'll be hitting levels of 2019 pre-pandemic again in Thailand?
Not a hope in hell.
2024?
No, it's just never going to be like that. I think we're going to have to sort of face the clear reality that there was a golden era of high tourism, including a lot of mass tourism out of China and other countries, and it's just not going to come back. The world's facing a very different economic situation for the next 2, 5, maybe even 10 years, and there's going to be a long recovery. And the things that are going to suffer are going to be things that we'd call discretionary income. That might be the extra coffee, or it might be indeed the travel overseas. But there's going to be a big change to our travel habits around the world, and Thailand's going to suffer. Thailand used to be one of the most popular places in the world for tourism. And I think what's happened, there's been a lot of changeover during the pandemic, and Thailand's going to be really battling to get most of those tourists back. Remember, for the short term, I mean, even up to at least to the end of this year, we're not going to see any Russian or Chinese tourists. And before 2019, they were making up nearly 40% of the tourism coming to Thailand. So a very different situation. And I think a lot of these Thai tourism officials are just, they're pissing in the wind.
Oh, wow. How dare you. Is that a common phrase in Thailand?
What?
Is that Aussie slang, or is that a English metaphor? What is it?
Oh, I think it's very Australian. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody, but at the end of the day, I just get a bit annoyed about these Thai officials who just sort of come up with these huge inflated ideas of the number of tourists, and it gives a lot of people false security, and they go and reopen their places and they employ thousands of staff assuming things are going to get back to normal immediately. And it's just not going to happen. It's going to be a very slow recovery, but we're not going to get back to pre-2020 numbers in any time soon. Now, they're saying maybe 2 years. I think it's more like 5 to 10 years, but we'll see who's right.
Natty, sorry.
No, but I think Tim does have a point. You know, it's not just that economies are suffering right now and it'll have a long-term toll on it, but generally, I think people's behaviors in general are also changing because this is such a long lockdown situation for many countries, especially in Asia. And so many people have been content now to just stay at home, just maybe travel domestically, not going abroad. And maybe the mindset of people in the West or in China or whatever are slowly shifting as well. Like extroverts are now shifting into introverts, and I don't know, just a lot of human behavioral changes, and so maybe travel might be a thing of the past. Okay. Maybe.
What's your prediction, Natty? How many years until Thailand becomes anything close to what it used to be?
Oh goodness. That's too hard of a question for me to answer, but it'll take a while for
16 years minus 5.
That's your prediction?
No, I think maybe 5 years.
5 years? Okay.
Yes, Tim.
I think the other thing is that, as Natty said, there's going to be a lot of tourism, people doing travel closer to home. So people in England, for example, are going to go to Spain or go to France for a weekend or for a couple of weeks instead. I think the people that are going to be coming to Thailand are going to be mostly Asian tourists because it's close, because it's cheap, because it's nearby. And that's going to rearrange the tourism mix here in Thailand. It's going to rearrange slightly what Thai people are going to offer the people who are coming here. So I think they're going to have to really rely on that short, close, short-haul travel for the time being.
I think Thailand's got to try something new. I think we're right with having our opinions on predictions. Is it going to take 5 years? Is it going to take 10 years? But Thailand was one of the first countries to reopen after, the main pandemic hit the world. Now we dropped the ball somewhere halfway along the line, and we were slow to reopen, and we're still slow to completely reopen. But maybe in a year's time, 2 years' time, Thailand has also surprised in good ways. So maybe they'll come up with something new which gives incentives to tourists or people to come and work in Thailand or open businesses or just come here for tourism. That's the small glimmer of hope and optimism I have for the country. So come on, Thailand, prove us wrong. As for now, we're going to take a quick break. Once we come back from the break, we're going to be looking at driving in Thailand. Should you not? We'll find out after the break.
Find the coffee roast you love most. Coffee Culture delivers Thai coffee online. Whole beans or pre-ground delivered to your doorstep in Thailand. Go to coffeeculture.asia and get coffee you love delivered to your doorstep.
And welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Thailand, and I'm Jay. And Good Morning Thailand is brought to you by Coffee Culture. Ladies and gentlemen, you can buy your sample packs before you indulge in bigger packs of coffee at coffeeculture.asia. All right. As well as, I'd like to give a big thank you to Michael W. and Crypto Kev for being Thaiger members.
Yay.
We appreciate your love and support. Thank you to all the Thaiger members and all the live viewers currently. Jet Gunther's in the chat.
Oh, I see.
And he's up to no good. Welcome back, Jet, by the way, after his 10-day hiatus, as well as all the members and viewers. We've got 313 people watching right now. Please click the like button if you're enjoying the show. Yes, Tim's got a comment.
Well, I'm just going to apologise because I am sitting in a cafe. I'm taking advantage of the very strong 5G signal and also the fact that they make very good coffee here. Very probably Coffee Culture coffee.
Of course.
But more than that, there's a lot of people here at the moment ordering fruit shakes and coffee. So it's either the grinder or the Vitamizer going in the background. So apologise for the background noise.
It's okay. It fits the morning vibes. All right, let's talk
Sure
about
does.
our second topic now. Ladies and gentlemen, new upper speed limit increases to 120 kilometers per hour on some Thai motorways. Now, for some of the viewers watching in the Western countries, might be thinking 120 kilometers per hour, that doesn't seem like a lot. And to our American viewers who are completely confused because they don't understand kilometers per hour because they deal with miles, it's not that fast, but it's kind of fast.
It is fast. What are you talking about?
120?
Yeah.
Sure.
It is fast.
I'm talking about like on highways.
On highways, it doesn't seem fast because it's so vast, and then everything just kind of looks the same. So it looks like you're kind of just staying in place.
Exactly. Well, from yesterday, the speed limit for all traffic will now increase to 120 kilometers per hour. The changes covers at least 4 highways in Thailand. The highways include highway number 9, which is in Kanchanabhisek, Param Song, Phet Kasem, and another one on Phet Kasem. So if you're not living and driving in Thailand, then I guess you don't have to deal with it. But if you are an expat or a tourist living and driving in Thailand, then good news, I guess. But the reason I decided to pick up this topic is because, like Tim mentioned earlier to me, that it sounds slightly familiar. I feel like Thailand did something similar like this earlier. Tim, you've got more information on that.
Yeah, well, actually, this happened about a year ago, where they did raise the official speed limit on some roads to 120 kilometres an hour around Thailand. But it was only for some vehicles. And so we all sort of thought, oh, this isn't going to go well. And but now the 120 kilometre speed limit is actually for all vehicles. But at the moment, it's only on 4 major motorways. I'm not sure if you got that information, none of them of which I use. But yeah, I would say the raising of the speed limit to 120 kilometres an hour, no one's going to notice because most of the traffic goes far faster than that already. And there's almost zero enforcement on speed limits in Thailand. Mind you, a lot of these roads are very high quality. They're like 4 lanes wide in both directions.
Yes.
And Thailand's actually got a really good network of major highways. I think a lot of people think it's all sort of ramshackle, pothole-filled little roads. But no, I mean, the big highways are very high quality. So, yeah, but 120 kilometres an hour isn't really particularly fast when you compare that to, say, the autobahns in Germany and around Europe. So, yeah, I don't think anybody's going to notice 120 kilometres really.
That's the Thai autobahn. Come on, Natty, let's talk about the speed limit.
I just wanted to say, like, I'm glad that they raised it, though, because it didn't make sense earlier that they had it capped at 90 kilometers per hour because there's no cars basically, so you want to go fast, and then I would always get fined 500 baht going to Pattaya or Hua Hin just because because I was like 110, like come on, like I was still going pretty slow. But what I'm more afraid of is that they're increasing these speed limits, but they're not enforcing, or they don't have real enforcements of how far apart each car should be from one another. Because in the West, I know that for every 10 kilometers per hour, you have to stay away one car length, right?
Okay.
So 120, you should be away from the car in front of you 12 cars length.
Okay.
So just in case of an accident, you don't hit each other.
You
But
have
in
enough time to
Thailand,
brake, huh?
we just tailgate each other at
everyone.
120, and that's dangerous.
And that was one of the questions I wanted to ask. We have two speeds in Thailand when you're driving on an expressway or on a highway. It's either too slow or too fast.
Yeah.
Natty, are you a too slow or too fast? I mean, from the fines that you've been getting, I'm guessing you're a too fast.
Oh, yeah, maybe I'll
Too
be
Fast,
on the
Too
two.
Furious,
Yeah.
starring Natty Warisa.
But I'm gonna say that too slow doesn't mean that you're any safer. Actually, going too slow on a motorway is equally dangerous as going too fast.
Well, one of
Right.
the most frustrating things, I think, in my experience driving in Thailand has been, even in the fast lane, people drive way below the speed limit. So I was recently driving from Sirasha to back to Bangkok, and on those roads they do have signs that says you can drive up to 120 kilometers. But even in the fastest lane, they're driving at 90. So what can man do?
Why would they
Tim
do
Newton.
that?
Yeah, the question from the Wu-Tang Life on our comment section asking about driving licenses. You can use an international driver's license as long as it's currently up to date. If you want to drive a motorcycle in Thailand legally, you've got to have a motorcycle license in your home country. Now, they actually say that you've probably legally got to have a motorcycle license in Thailand, freely available for quite a low price in Khao San Road. So, yes, you do actually, if you do want to drive a motorcycle in Thailand, you do actually need a motorcycle license legally.
Well-
However, the people who rent you out a motorbike will just happily just photostat your passport and give you one anyway.
I saw
But
the
your
most
insurance won't cover you.
Tim, I saw the most recent driving license that covers both motorcycle and car. Before, I remember
Okay.
before you needed one for a motorbike, one for a car. But the most recent one I saw, because once you turn it around, you can see the picture, and it's got a picture of a bike, a normal car, and a truck.
Wow, I want one of those.
I want a truck license. I want to drive a truck at 120 kilometres an hour and tailgate Natty.
When
Oh, gosh.
I first got my driving license when I was 18, it did say like a small car, medium-sized car, and a truck. I did the exam on an automatic, so it didn't. You didn't have to drive a manual. It didn't have to be anything. So you didn't have to prove anything. You just get a normal license, and apparently you're good enough to drive a truck. And that's why Thailand has so many road accidents, ladies and gentlemen. Next thing I wanted to ask you both was that about driving licenses. Now, can I share with you a personal experience?
Yes.
I went to go renew my license. Last month, me and Tim were in Phuket, and I went to go renew my driver's license. And this was a license that I'd had for 10 years, so I went to go get a medical certificate to see I'm healthy. I've got my eyesight and everything. You're now able to do the test online. So the government by law requires you to retake a written test, like a multiple choice test, and basically watch an hour-long video on updated road rules, and road safety rules, driving rules, how to drive here, how to drive there. And no matter where you are, you could be in Isan, you could be in Phuket, but the video is all about Bangkok, basically, because that's the most important city in the country, apparently. So they basically teach you all the rules through videos of driving in Bangkok. It's a really outdated video. It's probably 10 years old, but relevant. I watched the video for 1 hour. I went to the land transport place to renew my license, and then they gave me a queue number. And I said, "What's this for?" It's like, "Oh, well, you need to come back in 2 months." And I said, "I'm renewing my license. I'm not doing the test again. I've got my health certificate. I've done the exam. You made me watch for 1 hour. I've got the money. Can I please have my license?" They said, "Oh, unfortunately, we have a queue." And this was in Phuket. You're going to have to wait 2 months to renew your license. I was like, "You know my license is expired, and yet you still won't renew it. You're going to make me wait 2 months. So am I supposed to not drive for the next 2 months?
Yeah.
What do I do?" They said, "Well, we can give you a queue number for Bangkok, but it'll be a lot longer." And I said, "It's okay. I'm going to take this queue number politely from Phuket and be on my way, ma'am." And that's what exactly happened. So now I have to go back on June to my driving license. I have to fly to Phuket to get my driving license and then fly back.
That's crazy. But also, like, what kind of procedures do you have to go through? I know that you had to watch that video. You
Yeah.
also had to do some online tests. Did you have to do any physical tests
Nope.
at all? Wow. So the
Well, I've had
procedures
my driving license for
no,
10 years.
No, I just renewed it too.
Yeah.
But I had to go through the driving license. How do you call it? Like the physical exam.
Really?
Yeah. So they had like a faux brake system where if you see something coming towards you, you have to brake, and like the red, yellow,
Oh
green
yeah,
lights and
I'm
all.
sure they have to do that too, but that's not really like a physical exam.
Oh.
That's just like a perception, your peripheral vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so you
they're
did have to do that.
They're gonna
Okay.
test me on that on the day, but it doesn't take more than 10,
No,
15
it doesn't.
minutes.
Yeah.
And they're not really that serious about it. They're just like, what is this light? Oh, you can see red and green. They want to see if you're colorblind. They want to measure, you know.
Maybe they want to see you again.
Maybe. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Tim Newton, the man on the move. Where are you now, and what are you up to?
Well, people were complaining about the background noise. I apologise for that. So I've come out where it's a little bit quieter. This is my my weekday yacht, and this is the one I use on the weekends.
Ah.
So
Wow.
I just thought I'd share those with you. Yeah, I mean, I've got a license, the best license money can buy. I actually, to be honest, my license I got through circumstances which were not necessarily as per what you did. I have to admit, I went to a driving school and said, I really don't have time to do this. Well, I was meant to go for an hour a day for a week. I said, look, I don't have time. They said, well, you just need to pay this much money and we'll give you the license. So that's how I got my license, which is 100% legal from a driving school. And yeah, I still use it to this day. So, I mean, there are ways of getting driving licenses around Thailand. I wouldn't recommend it. I'm not saying it's the thing you should do. But yeah, unless you really want to sit through that hour-long turgid video, I've done it once, I will never do it again. There are other ways you could possibly get a license, maybe, perhaps, allegedly, in Thailand.
All right. Thank you for that, Tim Newton. As for now, we're going to take a quick break. Once we come back from the break, we're going to address a poll we did. So if you haven't answered it yet, please go to the community section of thethaiger.com. Not thethaiger.com, the Thaiger on YouTube, and answer the question in the poll, which says, when will Thailand remove the requirement for everyone to wear a face mask in public? Results of that. And finally, Thailand ranked one of the 10 safest travel destinations in the world. Find out more after the break. And welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Thailand, and I'd like to say a big thank you to Deva Beach Resort. Deva Beach Resort. Visit Deva for your luxurious holiday next summer, or this coming summer. Type in the code Thaiger for a 10% discount. Tim Newton.
Yeah, it's spelled D-E-W-A, and it's a very nice place indeed. You drive past it if you drive from the airport to Nai Yang Beach, which is a great beach up there in the north of the island as well.
All right, it's now time to address a poll. We did a poll, and the question was basically, when will Thailand remove the requirement for everyone to wear a face mask in public? And the public have answered. 31% of you say next year, 2023. 28% in second place is sometime in the second half of 2022. So I'm guessing during Christmas, near the last quarter. 25% say end of May 2022. I think that's slightly optimistic.
Yeah, wishful thinking.
And 16% in last place, end of June 2022.
Wow.
25% saying end of May, Tim Newton?
Well, yeah, this is going to be a difficult one. I think we've sort of been fairly consistent saying that we don't think that the wearing of masks is going to happen sooner before later. We think it's probably going to be one of the final things that's going to disappear from the WCSA's list of restrictions. It was a cultural thing before COVID. A lot of Asians used to wear masks just around. So taking them off, I think, is going to just take a lot longer. of course, what a lot of the travellers want is the requirement to wear a mask to be removed, so at least they don't have to. They may feel inclined to wear it whilst around other people or around the locals, but at least they can take it off if they so choose. This has nothing to do with whether you think masks work or not. It's really just the decision for CCSA to decide when we don't wear them. It's tied up with the emergency decree, which in the emergency decree, it's a requirement. It's one of the guidelines that you have to wear a face mask in public. So that finishes in theory at the end of May, but will they extend the emergency decree another 2 months? They've already done it 10 or so times already. I think they probably will extend the emergency decree until at least the end of July. That would be when I think we might see the removal of masks. That's my prediction anyway.
All right. And our final topic for today is regarding Thailand being one of the safest places to travel in the world. In the world, Natty, in the world, I say.
The world.
It's actually ranked 8th. Thailand slid into 8th place on the world's safest travel destinations, but it is still in the world's top 10. Now, this survey was taken by travel insurance provider Berkshire Hathaway Travel Protection, and it was consisted of about 1,500 Americans as part of its 2022 State of Travel Insurance report. And now, Canada was number 1, apparently. Canada seems like a safe place. I've never been there. Don't know much about Canada.
It's
really.
very, very safe, yeah.
Yeah. Look at the Prime Minister.
Oh.
It's Justin Trudeau.
What does that even mean? Okay,
Followed by Iceland, then Sweden, Japan, Ireland, Switzerland, South Korea, most importantly Thailand, and then go back where? And we're back. And we're back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. I apologize for the technical difficulties today. It is a public holiday. The internet company is sleeping. In fact, our OBS crashed. That's what really happened. But we're back now.
Yes.
And we're still talking about Thailand being one of the safest places to travel in the world. Natty, what were you talking about?
What was I talking about earlier? I was saying that we have incidents of tourists gone missing in Koh Tao, and some of them, you know, we know about Koh Tao. And the three most southern provinces in Thailand still have a lot of unrest going on. So I think when they say Thailand, do they mainly mean Phuket, Bangkok, Chiang Mai, but they haven't taken account the country as a whole, maybe just like the top destinations in Thailand? I kind of wonder how they did that survey, I think.
Well,
but whatever it is, it's great that Thailand's on that list.
Tim Newton, any comments?
Yeah, look, I think most Westerners perceive Thailand as a very safe place to go. I think in any country around the world, there's going to be no-go areas, and it's incumbent on anybody to do their homework and check about those places and make sure they don't go. Yeah, sure, there's 3 provinces in the south of Thailand where you can probably pass through, but you wouldn't want to be meandering much off the main roads. Then again, in the list of people who have been harmed by the southern insurgency, I think the list of foreigners in there, when I'm talking about foreigners, I'm talking people who aren't Malaysian or Thai, would be less than 1%. Very few foreigners get attacked down there. It's really just an internal issue. But I would have 0 problems walking around any of the streets in Bangkok at any time of the day, any time of the year. There'd be parts of Melbourne I certainly wouldn't be walking around after, say, 10 o'clock at night. I perceive Thailand as a very safe place in the world to travel generally. Now, I can't speak from a woman's point of view, but again, I think violence against women is fairly low in Thailand. And yeah, I mean, there's the high-profile places like Koh Tao and other things. I mean, we hear about those in the news because they are high-profile. But it would give you, and if you just go by what you're reading in the news, you're not talking about the 99.9% who come to Thailand and have a perfectly safe and reliable time here.
All right. Thank you for that comment. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's know, what do you think? Does Thailand deserve to be in the top 10 safest places to travel? Most of the people who are our viewers are lovers of Thailand, tourists, expats, people who just love Thailand in general. Do you feel it is safe? Tell us about your experiences. How does it compare to other destinations in Asia or around the world? As for now, we're going to take a quick break. Once we come back, we're going to take live questions and answers from you. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after this.
Transferring money overseas? Sick and tired of the insane charges? Well, there's a new product to solve that problem. Try D-Money on your next international money transfer with the best rates and no added costs. Go to dmoney.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's quickly check out all the headlines from Asia with Natty.
Elsewhere in the region, this year's May Day may not have been so fun for Beijing residents. The country's ultra-strict so-called zero-COVID policies mean buildings and housing complexes with COVID-19 cases are on lockdown. In Beijing, parks and tourist attractions are only allowing 50% of their normal capacity. All restaurants in the capital city are only serving customers takeout with no dine-in services from Sunday to Wednesday. Visitors to many office buildings and attractions like the Great Wall must show proof of a negative COVID test taken in the previous 48 hours. The city's Universal Studios theme park said it had to be shut down temporarily. The Transport Ministry said last week that in China overall, 100 million trips are expected to be taken from Saturday to Wednesday, 60% fewer than last year. Beijing started imposing lockdowns last week, even though only 70 cases have been reported since April 20th. Out of the city's population of over 21 million people, Beijing residents are now working from home while stocking up on food and other supplies, fearful of being confined to their homes, as has happened in other cities, including China's largest city, Shanghai. Following a move by Indonesia's government to ban crude palm oil, or CPO, from being exported from the country, 2 ships were caught trying to smuggle the product to India and the United Arab Emirates. There has been a palm oil shortage in Indonesia for the past month since the Russia-Ukraine crisis has impacted the supply of vegetable oil in the country, making palm oil more expensive. The price of CPO in Indonesia spiked from 0.96 to 1.03 US dollars per liter to 1.52 US dollars per liter. Indonesian farmers have supported the CPO export ban, saying it's necessary for supply and affordability of cooking oil in the domestic market. The Indonesian president has also weighed in, saying that palm oil producers in Indonesia must first look after the locals before exporting. But the ban is now threatening food prices across the globe and placing extra pressure on already steep cooking oil prices worldwide. Palm oil is only grown in the tropics and is by far the most consumed and traded edible oil in the world. It is used to make detergents, margarine, soaps, chocolates, cakes, and cleaning products, among other things. It's estimated that when walking into a convenience store in Asia, almost 50% of the products would involve palm oil in their manufacture or are an actual ingredient. A 6-story building collapsed in China's Hunan province on Friday with 23 people inside. Rescuers managed to retrieve 5 people alive who were brought to a hospital and are now in stable condition, according to the authorities. But at least 18 more might still be trapped. The disaster happened in the city of Changsha. Meanwhile, the mayor of the city says the whereabouts of 39 more people who were around the building when it fell are being further assessed. China's President Xi Jinping demanded that the victims be rescued at all costs, according to state-run news agency Xinhua. Investigators found that the building's tenants had made structural changes to it. However, the cause of the collapse still has yet to be determined. The building had a hotel, apartments, and a movie theater. This is already China's second building collapse of the year. In January, an explosion caused by a suspected gas leak made a neighborhood committee building collapse in the city of Shangjing. At least 16 people were killed. Gas leaks and explosions in China are said to be caused by weak safety standards and corruption among officials tasked with enforcement. Some have also criticized the speed at which buildings are built in China.
Back here watching Good Morning Thailand. It's now time for live Q&A. So dear members, if you do have any questions, keep them coming. I'd like to address a comment that I actually missed on Saturday. On Saturday, I was doing the Weekend Update, which is a quick news show that we're going to do every Saturday and Sunday. And I had a message from Upside Down, who was using the super chat. So thank you, Upside Down, firstly, for donating £5. And his message was, I used to pray to Ganesh and elephants with 6 arms. They called me Gauri Farang. I don't really know what that means. Gauri, I guess in Hindi means white. Farang also means white person, I guess.
Oh.
Westerner. So he was a foreigner in 2 ways.
Nice.
All right. Now back to your live questions. Here we go. Greg Anderson says, top 10 agree. Been here for 17 years, much safer than USA. Been telling people for years how safe Bangkok is at any time. I think that's the main point, isn't it? At any time. Now, I'm a big boy. When I'm walking around on the streets of Bangkok, even late night, I've never once feared, that, someone's going to come and stab me or something like that. Gun violence, I think, in the city is fairly low. And walking around just the city, I wouldn't be scared. Tim, what do you feel when you're walking around Bangkok, late nights, doing whatever it is that you do, philandering around the city?
I don't do a lot of that. I'm usually in bed by about 9:30 because I've got to get up and make Natty and your breakfast each morning. So I've just never had any. I've never ever felt, I'm a bit uneasy. I'm not quite sure. I feel unsafe. Never felt that in Thailand, really, wherever I am. And look, I mean, even when there's protests on, okay, it might be a couple of street corners in the entire 12 million people in Bangkok, and they're probably places you'd avoid. So just use your common sense, and I think you can be very, very safe in Thailand. The amount of gun violence that's directed towards foreigners is extremely rare. So much so that I'm failing to think of a story involving gun violence and foreigners much over the last couple of years. A smattering of stories at most.
Smattering of stories. Wow, what a word. Is that the word of the day?
Smattering.
Means a very small amount.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Poker Loco says, Carmel, how much does it wear you out to read all these comments every day? Plus, Sick Puppy says, no Carmel, no peace. Gents, I'd just like it to be known that Carmel is actually probably at home or at a beach sipping on her coconut because she's off today. It's a public holiday, and she said, no, I'm not coming into work. I have my rights. And she just basically said, I'm not coming in.
Right.
So, yeah.
Carletto says, Natty, J, and Tim, where is Nan with Thailand history? Actually, Nan has her own program. She's not featured in GMT anymore, but if you go through the feed search, we do This is Thailand, and she does a long program, 7 to and above minutes, and talks about anything about the Thailand issue. And her most recent one was about the rape culture in Thailand.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really well-produced documentary. Like she went out, docu-series. She went out and interviewed the people of the foundation who help women, and also a victim of sexual assault herself. So if you get a chance, do check that out.
All right. James Aguirre, another member, says, I cannot speak for women, although those I have asked feel that Thailand is safer than many places as long as you keep your wits about you. Now, relating to what Natty said, yes, walking on the streets, you won't be really assaulted. However, Thailand does have an issue, a real problem with rape and sexual assault, most often done by someone you know. So if you do have some time, it's a bit of a serious topic, yes, but if you do have time, check out the video that Nan made, which came out over the weekend.
Jupiter Flambe says, who's in the birdcage? What does that even mean? Who's in the birdcage?
I don't know.
Okay.
Tim, I've got a question for you. Tony the Thaiger says, I've never heard of tourists being kidnapped in Bangkok or Chiang Mai.
No, just the amount of violence towards tourists or foreigners generally in Thailand is something that's either extremely underreported or it's just not happening. as I keep on repeating, I just when it comes to thinking about violence and Thailand, it's just something that doesn't really happen very much. I mean, Thais, of course, apportion a bit of violence upon themselves from time to time, but towards foreigners, I think we get a pretty good run. That top 10 rating for Thailand is well deserved, and I think people would be hard pressed to bring up any evidence to kick it out of the top 10. I also note that it's gone from, I think, number 2 to number 8 this year. So I'm not sure what's happened over the past 12 months for it to drop down. Also interesting to look at the other countries in that top 10 list. Some of those countries I probably wouldn't have included, having to travel some of them, in the top 10.
I find this really interesting because you and Tim both agree that, and most of the Americans in that survey agree that Thailand is a safe place. And now that I'm putting on my expat cap on or a tourist cap, it does make sense. But I think as a Thai person living in Thailand, we always hear about, different technic schools, how do you call it? Those ganchang, like schools just clashing into each other and they're really
school
violent.
Gang wars.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just like people who are driving trucks, like if they don't like how you drive, they would just like take out a gun and just like kill you, basically.
Okay.
But
Road
maybe,
violence, okay.
but maybe those are things 5-10 years ago, but it's still kind of stuck in my head. Like that's the image of Thailand that I have.
Tim.
But Natty, the truck drivers are not going to be pointing the gun at a foreigner, and there's going to be no foreigners at those tech schools.
Yes, that's why.
And once again, we only hear about those incidents because they're high profile and they're extremely rare.
Mm-hmm. Understood.
All right.
I'm just saying, it's just an opinion.
Yeah, I get it now. Because I was putting on my Thai hat, because I always hear from parents or my relatives, like, oh, don't go out at night, it's not safe, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, it's not safe, it's not safe.
But we know as well, right? Like growing up, we know like the local areas you're supposed to avoid. Even in Phuket, like in Phuket, there are certain areas you don't want to necessarily go after a certain amount of time. You don't want to be hanging around Sapan Hin. You might be stabbed. But yes, would a foreigner or a tourist necessarily go there at that time? Very, very unlikely. The Snives says, I've had a problem with taxi drivers taking me to a bar instead of to my hotel like I asked. What say you?
Oh, sorry. Come again.
Sorry. The Snive says he's had taxi drivers take him to a bar instead of the hotel like he asked.
Oh. Shame on
Taxi
the taxi
scams.
driver. Yeah, that's not good. Oh, does Tim want to say something?
Yeah, just on that, if you go and type in Thailand scams, every single list, including the Thaiger's very well-read list, all include the taxi and the tuk-tuk scams, taking you to gem stores, taking you to their brother's hotel, taking you to bars and things. So 5 minutes on the internet is going to avoid any problems of getting caught up in those scams. They're not. And if you're trying to relate those to the violence situation in Thailand, they're not violent, unless, of course, you're refused. But, I mean, if anybody is being taken to a place they don't want to go, just politely tell the driver, I don't want to go anywhere else except my hotel, and I want to go now. And most of the time, they'll take you exactly where you want to go. So just be aware of they're just scams. They're not violence. And 5 minutes on the internet's going to save you the embarrassment of being caught up in one of those.
Would you mess with a Thai dog though? Because Scotty Mac says, bet you would be scared walking around small towns after dark. Dogs are so territorial. Once they start barking, the rest go mad. I don't mess with Thai dogs. When I was a kid, I was attacked by by one of my friend's dogs, of all dogs.
Oh.
Yeah. So ever since then, I've had a slight fear of dogs, so I'm quite wary when it comes to them.
Right.
And that dog's name was Panda, and I tell you, he was not a panda.
I remember driving through an alley and it was completely dark. There were no lights lit up. And then as I was driving, I turned on the high beam, and there were millions of dogs, not joking, just barking, and their eyes were sparkly. I got so scared.
Oh no, you ran in on a dog conference.
Yeah.
Just hundreds of dogs like, human, she's seen us, quick, take her out.
Yeah.
But you survived.
I survived. Luckily, I was in an enclosed car, but can you imagine if I was on a motorbike? Yeah. Oh no.
The last survivor.
Yeah.
Natty words. Tim, have you had any experience messing around with Thai dogs?
I'm pretty good with dogs because I've had a lot of dogs in my life, and I sort of know roughly how to treat dogs, especially the ones that are a bit aggressive. So I've personally never been bitten or had any problems with Thai dogs. In the high urban areas, there's been quite a lot of picking up those dogs, getting rid of these street dogs. They take them in, they vaccinate them, they neuter them, they rehabilitate them, they return them to the streets. And there's a lot fewer stray dogs around most parts of the heavily touristed areas than there were in the past. In Phuket, of course, there's the Soy Dog Foundation, which has made a profound difference to the life of the street dogs and to their interaction with humans. Sorry, what's that? Oh, if you could have the boat ready. About 5 minutes. About 5 minutes. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry, what's your yacht called again?
It's called The Beast.
The Beast.
Oh, wow.
Oh. I thought it was called the Claire Marie or something. All right.
That's my weekend boat.
Oh, I see. Oh, these rich people, I tell you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us so far. We've gotten about 15 minutes on the episode so far. If you have liked it, please click the like button. As for now, I'd like to say thank you to Nettie Warisa.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you to Tim Newton joining us from Phuket. And
thanks, everybody.
Through all the technical issues we could not control with the internet falling out. Come on, Thai internet companies. But still, a very big thank you to our technical team, Num and Shai behind the buttons. Thank you to all the viewers watching. Please click the like button. Thank you to all the members for your support. We appreciate you. And we hope you have a great Monday. It is a bit quiet because it's a public holiday, but we'll be back with an action-packed episode tomorrow. So see you tomorrow.